Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the Primary Arms 509 with ACSS Vulcan reticle. Let's get right into the first 30-second breakdown. That's where in the first 30 seconds, give or take, I give you guys my exact thoughts on this product before we get into the full review. That way you can just stop watching because now you know exactly what I say about this product, or you can continue watching, find out why I say these things. It does help out with the YouTube algorithm. So this optic is probably one of the top optics I would choose for a duty-driven gun or a concealed carry gun because of the benefits being the closed emitter. You have 20,000 hours of battery life, a backup solar panel, side panel here for your battery so you don't have to remove the optic to actually change your battery. This thing has a lot of benefits. The reticle in it is really cool, having that chevron with the large circle around it. So if you lose that dot, you're able to get it back onto target much quicker and easier. Really easy to press the buttons, and durability wise, this thing is wildly durable. I went out to a class with Achilles Tactics, and it was definitely one of the harshest conditions I've ever put a gun through, and this handled it very well. So very solid optics. Price point is really good at $450. The only downfall I would say is it's got its own plate system you have to use. Because it's enclosed, you can't put two screws down. You have to actually mount it here. Like, it's more like a Picatinny mount almost. It's not, but it's very similar to that style where you tighten it in that way, like an accessory to a pick rail or a flashlight. So you do have to run a mounting system there for a plate, but I will say it comes with the plates, so it's not like you're having to buy anything extra. Primary Arms actually sends the plate with it, which is two different plates, the MOS along with, it's like the Armor footprint as well. So for the most of you, that is the footprint that you're already gonna have, so you shouldn't have any issues actually mounting this. So now let's get into my relationship with Primary Arms. They did send me this product. I did not spend my own money on it, and I do appreciate them doing that. Now let's get into the full review and go over why I say these things. So this is easily, at this time, the best optic for a handgun that I have tested so far. Now, the reason I say that is because it is a closed emitter, so you don't have that issue of having anything else introduced to the emitter or anything to this optic like fogging to the lens that you have to worry about. This has an anti-fog to it, so you don't have any issues with the fogging. I've not experienced any problems with fogging, which is one problem with some handgun optics, is you have that issue of having it on your body, whether you're going from AC or you're warm in your body and then you go outside and it's cold and you get that fog. I've not had any issues with this one so far with that. Durability wise, like I said, I went to a class with Achilles Tactics, and that was the harshest conditions I've ever put any of my guns through. Took a handful of guns, the Dagger, Glock 17, this, and then my a couple rifles as well. This handled really, really well. I was really worried with all the sand and all the stuff we were shooting in, and the way I was shooting, I was laying on this a lot, never had any kind of durability issues. Had some scratches on the lens, but nothing that's gonna cause me not to be able to shoot this gun accurately and continue to engage on target. The buttons are very easy to click. You have just two, an up and a down. They're very tactile, and it's very easy to press there on the side, and if you have gloved fingers, you're able to use those as well. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual reticle, and that's what makes this thing special and actually stand out, because this is very similar and basically the same thing as a 509. What makes this one different and maybe potentially different for you to buy opposed to the 509 is the reticle. So you have that chevron in the middle, and you can actually use that for ranging, so you can shoot at different distances by using the chevron depending on what caliber you have, which I'll have some B-roll here showing you exactly the way it works. But the giant circle around the actual chevron, I've heard a lot of people say it's too cluttered. Why would you want all that stuff in your optic? What I will say, when you actually have this sighted in properly, or when you're looking down this properly, you don't see the large circle. It's far enough out that you don't see it. Now, showing it on camera, obviously when you're a little bit closer, depending on how you look at it, like if I look at it from this distance, obviously I can see the chevron because I'm closer to the optic. But when you have it at a distance where you're actually shooting, and you're shooting correctly where that chevron is where it's supposed to be, you're not gonna see that outer circle. So when people tell me it's too cluttered, you don't necessarily see all that stuff. All you're seeing is the chevron. Once you shoot and the chevron is no longer in the sight picture, you then can see the large circle around it. But the use for that is now you can bring that chevron back on a target where you want it. So it has a purpose. It does not overclutter things like a lot of people think. I think that rumor was started from people that have never actually used the device, just see it on the internet and see that picture, and they're like, okay, that must all be in there, like a EOTech or like some of the Holosuns have that circle dot that's all right there. But that is not true. As long as you are sighting properly and you have that chevron where it's supposed to be, and you are extended and not shooting your handgun like this, like you shouldn't be, you will never actually see that outer circle. Now let's talk about battery life. So you have 20,000 hours of battery, and that's enough to where you're not gonna have to change your batteries very often. And then if you have an issue with battery, you don't wanna run battery as much, you wanna save as much as possible for some reason, you do have the solar backup. Some people will say this is gimmicky. I have an AK, it's maybe the 408 maybe, 403. Their numbers are atrocious and wildly difficult to actually understand and remember, but it's one of their rifle optics that has the solar panel. I've only used solar panel, I've never had any issues with it, and it actually works pretty well. Would I use solar panel all the time for concealed carry or duty use? Absolutely not. I'm gonna use the battery because I wanna be able to actually fine tune and have a consistent brightness. I don't like the fact that it goes up and down depending on the light, so that kind of throws things in there. Now for an absolute backup if needed, I really like having that there, but it's not gonna be what I'm gonna be using primarily. Now for the plates, this is something that I'm gonna put as kind of a con. I kind of wish they wouldn't have went with their own style. It's like a proprietary. They obviously couldn't do the 2 screws because it's a closed emitter, so they can't do the traditional route you see most red dots. But what I like to see them do is where they did with the 507s or the 407s, 507s, 508s, the other handgun optics that are open emitter, is they went with the RMR footprint. I wish they would have followed like the Acro, and then everybody would have already had that, because I know companies are cutting for Acro specifically, so I would have really liked to see them just stick with that. So there's just one opposed to 2 different types, so you don't have to buy 2 different ones depending which optic you're going with. But they do actually give you 2 plates. One is an MOS option if you want to buy that one, or you can go with the RMR footprint plate. So depending which one you want to go, you can buy the one specifically. Just to be clear, it does not come with 2 plates in the box. They come with 2 different options you can choose from. Now let's go over the price. This is gonna be $450, which I think is a phenomenal price for what you're getting. You're getting a plate, which is usually running around $50 to $100 depending on the quality of the company you're going through, and you're getting a really durable optic. This is something that I would trust my life with and carry on duty, which is something I can't say for a lot of optics. I really don't trust a lot of things because I want to really make sure it's something that I've used enough and can guarantee will always work. And this is something, after the testing I have done, can guarantee that's going to work and not have any issues. Obviously everything can have issues, but this is one that I think that I would definitely put my stamp of approval on and say, for what it's worth, if it's worth anything to you guys, I definitely would say this is something that I would trust my life with and recommend to you guys for concealed carry. And I don't say that a lot. If you guys are watching my reviews a lot, you know that I don't usually go out there and say this is definitely something you should get, and I approve it. This is definitely one of those optics, far and few between, that I do that for, but it's a really good optic, and I've really liked testing this one. I'm getting another one. I'm probably gonna buy multiple of these actually, just because I don't know, I can't say enough about it. It's a really good optic. I think that Holosun did a really good job with it. I think closed emitters is the future. I don't see a lot of people within 5 years really gonna be going open emitter. I think that's gonna be like a competition thing, or maybe like a range toy thing. But when you're looking for concealed carry or duty driven optic, I think pretty much everybody's gonna be switching to this closed emitter. And we're gonna look back in 5 years from now and be like, we actually carried open emitted optics. Like, why didn't we just do closed emitters? It just makes more sense. You don't have all that introduction of possible problems and things to go wrong. It makes more sense. The only downside that I'm really seeing is right now is the size and the look. I mean, aesthetically, for most people, it's still a little bit shocking. It looks like a mailbox on top of there, but I think the more you're gonna see these, the less it's gonna be an issue. The only thing I want to mention with this optic, the difference between this and the 509T from Holosun, is the fact that this one is aluminum, the other one is titanium. So that is really the only big difference. I think there's like a small size difference just because of the actual ability to get the emitter in here, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there's a slight size difference, but nothing that you're really going to notice and be like, oh, whoa, this is wildly different. Like, they look the same, and they're pretty much the same optic. So if you have a 509T, you're going to love this optic if you like that reticle. And that's really going to be the big selling point for the primary arms one, is getting that ACSS Vulcan reticle on this one. So with all that being said, I hope you were able to make a better purchase decision to decide whether this is something you want to go with, or maybe it's something you want to pass on. So always my goal is to be able to help you guys spend your money in the best way possible. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you guys want to help support me, there's a couple ways to do that down in the description. There are some discount codes from companies that I personally trust that you can save some money with, and there is a link to my website from there. There's other ways as well. Those things do help out my channel a lot. A couple supporters of me in the channel, Howitzer and Brownells. Howitzer is a clothing company that donates 5% of proceeds to charity. They're the ones that actually allowed me to go to this Achilles Tactics class, which was a super cool class, 2-day vehicle dynamics class. Highly recommend it, especially because we're always in our vehicles, so it makes sense to be able to learn how to shoot in and around them. So definitely recommend that class and Brownells as well. Fantastic company, love those guys. I'll be doing a review video here soon on the regular 509. I was just able to get a lot more rounds through this ACSS Vulcan before I was able to get more rounds through the 509. The 509 is going to be getting tested along with the PSA Dagger, which is surprisingly doing really well so far. I've done a couple videos on Instagram talking about it. The trigger's horrible, the sights are nothing special, but the gun itself has been actually performing really well, and the grip to me is super comfortable. So for the price point of that gun, as long as it continues to do well in the way it is performing, it's probably going to be a pretty good review. So we'll see if we run into any issues later on. We're only at about 300 rounds, so we're really early in the testing process, but that video will be coming along with the 509T. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all.